exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, exil transitoire, sans exil transitoire, exil détenir le temps à la main. Rugissant comme une fusée cruelle, 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 je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Après l'avoir cuisiné dans la sauce, le tout sort. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Rugissant comme une fusée cruelle, rugissant comme une fusée cruelle, je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Après l'avoir cuisiné dans la sauce, le tout sort. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Je déforme une idée à propos de chaque événement. Rugissant, 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 rugissant.
Alright. Here we are. We're here. And here we are. Welcome yet again to another episode of the Woulg Show. Good. So not a huge audience today. It's probably because I've been canceling it a bit lately, but that's okay. The 10 of you, or I see 10 on my side. I don't know how many of you there are. There are actually. Thanks for the play and feedback last week. Posted the original of the track I posted last week, No Mountain from 2013. Just for fun and context, maybe not quite weird enough, but people might get a kick out of it. But hey, it's short, so I shouldn't have. You're a patron. Oh yeah, patron. Okay, cool, very cool. Okay. Hey, can you post it on post it somewhere where I can stream, listen in the browser, send me the link. Okay. Okay, so that's it. We just got the 2 tracks today. Alright, let's jump right in. So first we got Ricky in the cut, as they say. Hold on, let me organize my shit here. Okay, here we go.
With
Cool. I like that. It's interesting to hear the original one. Although I don't remember what the other one sounded like. Let's have a little refresher. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think it's safe to say it has evolved quite a bit. That's pretty great. Yeah. Yeah, I don't quite know what to say about that. That's pretty great. Oh, look. You can be famous. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. It reminds me a little bit of this what's it called, Moody Man. Actually, I think it's here. This track is really interesting and weird. I recommend it. I remember it being quite so blown out, but whatever. There's a lot of this kind of stuff. Yeah, sorry. I mean, you know, you can always send me something from like Gorilla Mail or whatever. Do you guys know Gorilla Mail? Yeah, let's take a look at it. So Gorilla. There's other ones like this. But yeah, it's just a disposable temporary email address. And I don't usually email you back, so you can just do this, compose, send it to me, and don't send me a file. Just send me the link to your song. So that's an option, alright? Otherwise, it's up to you. I'm not responsible. Alright, let's listen to more Verb Step. Sick. I really, really like that end bit. I feel like the earlier version had more of that part. Is that true? Yeah. Although I feel like you did a really good job at this vibe. I just thought that's a nice little sort of cool little mini rhythms in there. Yeah, cool shit. Cool shit. Yeah, that's really cool. Did a similar thing in a track years ago, recorded the output from down the hall and switched out to that. Well, the ending is the start of the other version. Oh, that's cool. Cool. Yeah, I like it. Oh, we got a couple other ones. Okay. Here we go. Hand grass. Okay. Sick. I really like that. Oh, hello. Hold on, let me sign in. I want to like that. Oh, shut up. Stupid fucking piece of shit. Okay. Shut up. God. Okay, I'm gonna follow you. Alright. So my one thought with this is it might help to have a little bit more evolution, since we sort of like sit in that place for such a long time. And there's tons of like little things that you can add to make it kind of change, like have more of a kind of narrative or development or something. My like the easiest and the one that always sounds good, just make those kicks like bigger and bigger and bigger until at the end they're just these giant like and then bing bang boom, song's done. But it's cool to also just kind of sit chill in like in a mood like that. But I don't know, I always like when there's some sort of evolution. You know, more kind of chill things you could try is like maybe some of those instruments kind of change timbre over the course of the song, but like a slow, you know, one directional change. So maybe, I don't know, they turn into some other instrument or something as we go along. That's always a nice kind of transition, and it's not going to make the vibe like any more intense or anything. Yeah, a Foley story could also be a nice thing to follow for the ear. Yeah, but all in all, really liked it. What did you use for the generative part? Oh man, my stream delay is so long. Alright, well, I'll let you write that, and in the meantime, what's a Euro rack patch? That's cool. Okay, here we go. Cool. Yeah, I really like that, like... that. Whoa. 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 It's really nice. Yeah. Very cool. I think, yeah. I think you could work on the mix a little bit to make those kind of kicks and snares a bit bigger. And there's sort of like a bit of muddiness in there, I think. That could be cleaned up a bit. With those big kind of reverbed out kicks, sometimes it can be really helpful to sort of sidechain the reverb under the dry kick, at least a little bit. That way you still get the kind of presence and punch from the first part of the kick. And all that nice reverby goodness afterwards. Yeah, so that can be kind of a nice, it can be a nice trick for that stuff. Yeah, in general, I think it's cool. It evolves nicely, and I think there could be maybe more of a lead element that kind of guides us through that stuff, but definitely not necessary. Okay, we got Yank Scally. Ah, sorry. I really like this vibe. I had two kind of little thoughts here. One is I think that the kind of more hi-fi sounds, the really kind of refined, like that. Like, I think this is my favorite section. And I would maybe even play with those vocals a little bit, because it sort of takes, like, this is a world, I think. Especially once we land sort of, yeah. This is such a, like, a world. I'm not saying, like, don't use those hi-fi sounds. I think, like, could be kind of interesting. I don't really know what you're saying, Uder. Some lead to follow? Comes up a bit. Maybe that's often due to the first time listen. I see what you mean. Yeah, like not having some. Yeah, that's a good point. So I think what Uder is saying is like, so you'll often hear me saying like, oh, it would be nice to have some kind of lead or focal element that helps us kind of go through the song, and he's saying, or they, I don't know, is saying maybe that's because it's like my first time listening, so I'm not kind of catching all the little details, and that when you listen through a couple times, then catching those little details will sort of like, you know, anchor the track on their own, or they'll sort of like be the thing that you follow when you're listening through. I think that's a good point. It certainly can be. I guess my attitude about that is sort of like, why not both? Because and my thinking behind it is sort of like, well, when people give your song the first listen, if you don't have something that's gonna latch them on, then maybe they won't listen again, and then they won't get that experience regardless. And it doesn't have to be like the whole time, I think, but having some of those little catchy elements to make sure that people come back, it can be helpful, I think. God damn it, please. And that's why I usually say that when I'm critiquing the songs. And that brings me to my next point about this song, which is actually, so I think this song does a really clever kind of version of that. Like the bass is sort of the thing that's our sort of lead element in this, and the or whatever, that to me feels like it's sort of the grounding element that kind of brings us through the track. On that note, I really like all this, and I like this section. I think this is really clever and interesting. But then, I think once we get here, this could be kind of more of a reveal. So here in the beginning, we have this kind of more atmospheric thing. It's sort of like filling the space. All right, you guys, that's enough. That's enough songs for today. For now, I'll maybe sing another one later. So, God damn it! Why do I still have that up there? Now everybody has like 2 bajillion points. That thing's only 1,000 points. God damn it. Okay, so, anyways, I think this could be sort of like a bigger reveal, or like we can come back into a more sort of atmospheric zone, maybe some more synths with reverb on them or something, or like something like you kind of get back there here, right? think like kind of more reverb and stuff and maybe some other notes in there will help like to make this feel like or where is it? Yeah, let's hear that. You know what I mean? You see how that sort of like resolves more? It feels like it's like, aha, big finish or whatever. So that can, that could be kind of a nice way of like kind of resolving this sort of moment that you have here. Instead of it sort of feeling like we make this interesting turn, and then all of a sudden we're just sort of like back for no reason. The stuff that happens in between there is cool, but it just, maybe it's not the right place for it, you know? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's that. Oh, we got 2 more. I really have to pee. Let's do, I guess it's a rhythm track. Okay, I don't know if we're really gonna, whatever, let's see. Cool. I think for this job, I think that bass would be cool to, because I think a lot of the elements are quite strange. Like the sort of not so strange parts of this, I think, are like that bass and the build up. And I think if you switch up that bass a little bit, like, so one of the things I've been doing a shitload with basses lately is like I'll make some bass and like try not to get too like kind of, or I try not to get too like kind of neuro-y, squelchy sort of stuff on it at the beginning, and then I'll make another channel in that same bass group or whatever where all those effects are, sometimes with all the effects, sometimes not, and I'll high pass that one, and then I'll try taking that sample or a different sample and layering it over top and like putting it an octave above. And sometimes you can get some really nice things that way, or I'll like resample the bass and then crossfade between different sort of bass sounds. And again, sometimes you can get some really kind of wild like sounds out of that. And I would imagine like here the concept is sort of like, at least for this drop, it feels like the concept is sort of like that bass is supposed to be and kind of has to be the same every time. And I think you might be able to get a little bit more of a sort of like a more sort of glitchy quote unquote glitch world or whatever sort of texture on there, if that's the way you want to go with it. Obviously, you know, it's already cool. And I think, you know, just because you submitted it for like a glitch track review, I think that would be my kind of thought on there. I think the build-ups are good. Everything's good. This one could, like, I feel like you high pass a lot of that other stuff out a bit too quick. Like, we're already pretty high passed by then. Yeah, it feels like you could maybe high pass it a bit slower, a bit less or something. Anyways, that was cool. Okay, Ember Sleep. Cool. I think you could kind of play around with the tonality of some of those glitches and also the sort of rhythm of them. They still sound a bit like kind of random to me, and I think a little bit more finesse on that will help. Also on this note, on this bit, so here you start kind of like smoothly sort of speeding up those kicks, or I'm not sure exactly what's happening there, but I think that would make a nicer transition than like that sort of switch to double time or whatever. Gets sort of more of that kind of stuff in between. Hey Ray Viviano. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break now because Encanti is going to be back with an interview after this. Okay, so everybody just chill and guess let me put a just whatever. If anybody comes, you just tell them that Encanti's going to be here soon and we're going to do an interview with him. Okay? And in the meantime, I'll put some music on and we'll sort of just do that, I guess. Just find some goddamn music. Okay, I'll be back soon. All right, everybody.
That's a cool track.
Thanks, man. That was a little assignment I gave myself to see what's the longest build-up I could make.
Oh, that's you? That was a good one, dude.
Thanks, man.
Dude, I need that one.
I will send it over post haste. Okay. Yeah, because then they can't hear you. Okay, so do we have to do it like this? Okay, I think everything should be good. Ben, can you say something so we can make sure that we've that the people out there.
Ah, there's a little light. Say something, I'm giving up on you.
That's what I'm talking about. See that person that asked for a song? There it is. I have like this reward on my, or not reward. It's like a, on Twitch you can say what's the thing? It's like if they redeem some points, then you can set it up however you want. So one of mine is that I'll sing a song for 1,000 points.
Oh, cool. What songs have you sang?
I just sing whatever I was gonna say in that moment usually. All right. Okay, cool. So, all right. Okay, so today, I'm very excited about this. So we're going to get to ask you a bunch of questions about your work, your maybe even some career advice if you feel like dishing it out. What else can we ask? Yeah, I think that's... Yeah, and specifically I wanted to ask you more about the concatenative synthesis stuff, because that stuff is, I know, super, super exciting for a big contingent of the glitch crew, I guess.
Oh, great. Let me just load up Python.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done that in a little while.
And then... Yeah, what else? Okay, well, let's just start with...
Yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be some, questions from the house or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll think of something.
Mm-hmm. So first thing I kind of wanted to ask you, just like to get just to have it on the record, I guess. And
okay.
Just a quick refresher or whatever. Can you tell us a little bit about like, I'm Ben, I make music under... or like as in the Zebler Encanti experience, and like just a little like a mini life story.
Sure, yeah. I'm Ben. I go by Encanti, which is kind of an anagram. It's actually just my normal name, Ben Cantil, with the first and last letter shaved off. So I like to think of it as my artistic identity is like my inner me, in a sense.
Very nice.
And I've been making music ever as a teenager, and I've always like really been envious of musicians that just figured out what they wanted to make as soon as they started making music.
Mm-hmm.
Like I met Freddie Todd when he was like 18, and he was already making like the sickest glitch hop, and it was just like the first music he ever tried to make, and he just nailed it. I was not so lucky. I actually was born with really small hands and not very good motor skills. So one of the original reasons I got into music was that the doctors told my parents, he said if you want this guy to get better motor skills, give him a guitar and video games.
Nice.
So I got really good at guitar and video games. You put them together, boom, electronic music all of a sudden.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I started off doing like kind of industrial music. I was really into Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie and shit. Okay. And then I got to go to Berklee College of Music. Mm-hmm. And I was originally from Alaska. My only exposure to electronic music was from Napster. There's just no community for it up there. Mm-hmm. So by the time I got to college, people were talking about the first time I went to a rave. I had never been to so much as a dance party, but I was in the electronic music program, and that's where I really fell in love with like really heavy hardcore glitch and IDM and breakcore. I think that going out of the nature setting, going into a city, it just like that's how I saw the world all of a sudden. Just
Yeah.
it was such an expression of the consciousness that I felt. Uh, and so for a while I was making very, I guess, music that you could call an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm.
Very noisy, aggressive IDM and stuff like that. And towards right at the end of college was when I started checking out like outside the Berkeley bubble. Berkeley very much like is a full contact college. You're just there even when you're sleeping. You're like doing advanced harmony in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a college for people who want to eat, breathe, and sleep music, and that's all that you do for 4 years. And towards the end of it, that's where I finally started checking out dance parties, and I got into dance music via the Burning Man scene. Just really found a cool crew of people in the New England area and started checking out their events, and eventually went to the regional burn, and that's actually where the very first Zebler and Encanti experience show happened.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I ran into Zebler in the woods at this regional burn called Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
And he had set up a quadraphonic sound system at his camp, and
Whoa.
we ran into each other, and he's like, "Hey man, we got an extra like DJ slot at this camp, which was called Smack My Glitch Up." No, Spank My Glitch Up. That was the name of the camp. And I was like, "Sick, I make glitch." And he's like, "Cool, you want to team up for a set?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I showed up, and at the time I was making like really, really obnoxious like IDM, but it was for my bachelor's final project. So I had made a cool max patch that was that could do 4 channels.
Yeah, cool.
And that was like the selling point. He's like, "Oh my god, I got 4 channels set up, and you got a thing that does 4 channels. Amazing." So we went on at like like 1 a.m. or something, like real primetime slot, and there's like 200 sweaty burners on the dance floor, and we absolutely cleared the dance floor. That was the funniest thing. Like the first C show, like absolutely was just too much, just too weird. But it was the beginning of a really good friendship, because I think that he saw that I was going to some very strange places, and he was just like, "Hell yeah." And he just followed along, and he pulled up really strange visuals, and for an hour it was just very intense, kind of dark and mangled and crazy psychedelic music.
That's awesome.
And that, it started just off of a really great creative relationship and a absolutely timeless friendship. And I moved in with Zebler shortly after that, and we just started working on some stuff here and there. I was just so floored by his visuals. When he came around in 2000, I met him in about 2006. No one was doing visuals. And he had already figured out how to do visuals that were across 3 projectors at once.
Whoa.
And I know that's really hard to imagine, like no one was doing visuals, but if you were there, it was actually really exciting to see, oh, we're at a dance party, we're at a rave, and there's visuals, and they're responding to music, and they seem synchronized. That was such a fucking cool concept. I cannot tell you how awesome it was to be there at the dawn of VJing. Yeah, and Zeb was right there for it. He's a little bit older than me, had just finished college, and had experimented with a lot of different formats, and decided that his thing was 3 projectors at once doing really long images. So
very cool.
He's bumping these out. He's wanting to bang out this content, and his main thing is playing art galleries and the underground party every now and then. And I was just like so willing. I was like, yes, I will make music for your visuals. This is so cool. This is so sick. Let's do it. And we started playing a Zebler and Encanti experience. I think the very first show had to be sometime around 2008, 2009. And at first it was like kind of a balance of like original stuff and DJ stuff. And by the time we got to about 2010, we were able to do an hour-long set of just original stuff. At that point, we had finally got to where we could fill up a night. And since I was kind of in the burner community, I was getting more and more into dance music, but by way of abstract esoteric glitch. So it wasn't like right, it wasn't like, I don't think I ever found that place where I was completely comfortable where I was making people dance, but I was also myself.
Yep.
And to me, it was more important to be that unique artist than it was to make perfect dance music at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that really the thing that really did it for me was like going to the Big Burn, going to Burning Man. And I remember just being like baptized in the dust, like, and on the dance floor and having this moment where I was hearing, like, it was just a house set or a breakbeat set or something, and just thinking, I've just been to college for electronic music. I know how to do this. I want to do this.
That's cool.
And finally it was there. It like connected with my artistic sense of identity. And so I was a very late comer to electronic music. I had learned how it all worked before, even attempting to make something danceable.
That's very cool.
And I like to think that a lot of that experimental edge is still really persistent in my stuff, because there's certain innocence to hanging on to those roots.
I think I found your music for the first time.
You found me around then.
I wonder if it was even before, because I remember. I think it must have been around 2010 or somewhere around there where I first. Yeah, because I've been in Montreal for a long time, and I definitely found you when I was still in Calgary. I think I even maybe found you on MySpace, and I remember
we were MySpace buddies.
I had one of your albums, I think, that you sent to me, because around that time, I feel like this is still kind of the way, but I just remember this so, so I remember when I first went on I was on MySpace, and I made my first kind of like glitch friend, my first like IDM kind of breakcore friend. And he was like, oh, I really like the songs on your MySpace. Can you send me everything you've ever made? And I was like, what? and I was like, okay. I've been cranking out a lot of music, especially in those early days. I was making so much stuff. And he was like, yeah, just send me all of it. So I uploaded all of it. I sent it to him. And I talked to some friends, and they were like, is he trying to rip you off? And like my big head at the time, thinking that it mattered, and and he fucking listened to every single song I had ever made, and he got back to me with like feedback on it, and I was like, what the hell? But then I got super into that vibe, so I started asking other people, like, can you send me, like, I want to hear as much as you want to send me and stuff. And I remember hearing that album of yours and listening through it several times in there. I remember you had some psytrance influence in there, some breakcore influence in there, and it was just, I remember even back then, like, the production was big, and it was like, I was like, oh wow, this sounds so much more like refined than the weird breakcore stuff that I'm listening to now. Yeah, and then I remember catching up with you years and years and years later on SoundCloud, and I think that time you found me. And I was like, oh my god, it's Encanti.
Oh my god, I remember that, man. I remember finding out that you had heard my music, and that blew my mind, because I was totally on a woulg kick. When I discovered your music, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? The first thing I heard was Floating Longingly Towards the Sun. Mm-hmm. And what label did that come on? Was that Enigmatic, that one?
That one was on Outlier.
Outlier, mm-hmm. Yeah. At the time, Enigmatic, Outlier, they were just forging the sound, which had its roots in glitch, but it was moving in the bassy direction, the kind of halftime direction, and it kind of laid the groundwork for what would become, kind of. I don't even think it's groundwork. I think that Enigmatic, Outlier is still very much the standard for high quality sound design over still bassy kind of music. Cool, and I remember your track Silence off of Floating Longingly Towards the Sun. It in that era, I think it's say around 2009, 2010. I was experimenting with plenty of LSD, and I remember that was just one of those songs where like it absolutely broke my consciousness, and I was like, I thought I was hallucinating the music, and I just remember like listening to that again and again and thinking, oh yeah, this is it. This is the fucking future, man. This is the shit I want to make. So your shit had a real big influence on me early on in that day. And I mean, I still I still bump that record and just like marvel at the sounds you got there. And so yeah, it was. Then we got to hang out finally because the crew that I was releasing with, Vermin Street, they were bringing out a lot of different glitch and IDM, and we brought like Aaron Spector and Mochi Pet and Mark N and you. And I remember you came to the Glitch Loft and finally hitting it off was just like,
oh, it's so great.
I had to not geek out so much because I had just enjoyed your stuff so much.
Yeah, that was a really special moment. That was really cool. Yeah. And yeah, you were a big influence on me as well. That album like really stayed in the back of my head for years. And then when I found you again, I was like, oh, this is where it's going. This is like the direction that everything is. I don't know. It just like I learned a lot, I think, from that. Okay, cool. So we've got a little catch up, and then I guess wanted to mention also too that you're teaching at like the highest possible level, basically, right? Like you were teaching at the master's campus in Berkeley, Valencia, right? And now you're doing private courses, which I had the absolute pleasure of dropping in on a couple weeks ago. And if you guys want to learn some serious shit, I highly recommend them. Ben just knows the ins and outs of like electronic music at this like really crazy level, so I really recommend that also. So let's get into the concatenative stuff, and maybe it's worthwhile if you give us sort of an overview from sort of your like. I think you told that story last time about like hearing Rob Clouth's album and just being like, what the fuck, I have to figure out how this is done. And I was kind of hoping that today maybe we can hear more about that journey of your like learning about it and learning about the different types of concatenative synthesis and where you kind of landed with your with that patch that you put out, but also like how you've managed to integrate it with your work.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, first of all, thank you so much for complimenting my class, Greg. I'm really glad you had a good time, and you're always so welcome there because, like, it was such a thrill. Like, you should see the feedback from that one session. It was awesome. But okay, so concatenative synthesis, I first discovered via Rob Clouth from the album 0 Point. And I think at the time, this was the early 2020 that came out. A couple months before that, I was already going through kind of a metamorphosis in my music. I had just taken a sabbatical from Berkeley. I worked at Berkeley for almost 7 years, and I just decided to take a year off to go and, just stay active and just not just be in the school environment all the time. Soak up some new ideas and to stay fresh. Because, I think people that tend to stay in academia for a long time, you end up getting a little bit detached from the real world, inevitably. So I wanted to get back into the world a little bit. At the same time, I had moved in with my girlfriend, Catherine, and she lives up here in Scotland. And the place that she built her home is one of the oldest sanctuaries in the entire UK.
Wow.
It used to be a sanctuary for pagans and then for Vikings. And then it's almost like what is a sanctuary in old terms? Basically, like if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, they send people to the wall, if they've been banished to the wall or something. And once they're there, they're outside of the laws of man. You have to stay there though. And that's what Applecross used to be. It was a religious sanctuary, and you go there, and once you're there, it doesn't matter if you're wanted for crimes. No one can arrest you there because once you're there, you're there. So it is a place where there's this deep, silent, contemplative energy, and you can really just imagine the last 3,000 years of civilization finding peace in this place. It is a very peaceful, quiet, secluded. It's the most secluded spot in the entire UK.
Wow.
I think it's 60,000 hectares. There's only 250 people, and I'm the only American.
Wow.
So it's funny. Anyway, so I moved there in September 2019, and I think that the silence of being in this really beautiful place really touched me in this way, and I just knew that my sound needed to go somewhere. I started writing softer music, a little bit more contemplative. This is when I started writing Sink or Swim. And it's when I got my OB6, my favorite synthesizer now. It's a polyphonic synthesizer, and it sounds really a lot like the music of Max Cooper and Tourist and a lot of those really amazing like chord progressions this thing can do.
Cool.
So I started writing in chords and writing this kind of deeper music, but like my old tricks weren't really completely doing it for me. And I'm the type of artist where I feel like I need not just an idea, not just like, oh, I have a chord progression that I want to develop or a melody. I need more than that. I need like a process, you know. I need to be exploring some sound, not just trying to do a genre, but like have a concept that I can rally around. Like, hey, I'm gonna try to do. And you're good at this too. Like, you've given me some good ideas before. Actually, you inspired one of my favorite songs on Sink or Swim, because at the time we were talking, you said, hey, I throw out these challenges to Woulg Weekly all the time. One of them was, I remember you tried to write some music on piano that used every note.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing it and thinking, that's fucking awesome. I really like that. I should try that. Nice. And then I sat down and I wrote the track Ripple Continuum, which is my favorite track on that album. And that uses every single note chromatically, and it actually, I think it works. It
That's
flows,
so fun. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, and it started from the Woulg challenge. So around this time, I'm like already going through a metamorphosis in my music. I'm just like, I got some feeling that something needed to change. And then the pandemic came down, led to Applecross, canceled Z Tour right in the middle of everything, and lockdown in the UK like a little mouse that runs into a hole. And then I was basically, the panic was happening, that it was chaos. Like we were panic buying, you know, and everything, and just getting ready to lock down. And finally, once everything was cool, I had been saving this Rob Clough album for a moment of chill where we could just watch the sunset and enjoy uninterrupted music. And finally the night came. I had a date night where I just set up my nice speakers, and we had the nice single malt Scottish whiskey, you know, and the sun was going down. We're like, let's listen to this Rob Clough album, because he's my favorite artist. And this was his first full-length album. I've been saving it. And what we heard that night went so far above and beyond. I knew it was going to be good, but it was so far beyond my expectations, mainly because I just could not put my finger on how these sounds were made. And as soon as the album was done, which is over an hour, like we took a quick break and then we listened to the whole thing again. It was just, so, it just felt like any moment in that album you could unpack forever. For sure. You could just, like any 3-second interval, you could look so deep into those sounds. And the way that it's mixed, it's actually not like the most compressed mix. It's mixed more like a vinyl. Lots of dynamic range. You could turn the volume way up, intense parts and quiet parts. Anyway, to me, it was just the perfect album. And an element on that was the fact that I, a sound designer who's been working for Berklee College of Music for 6 years and who's been trying to make IDM and glitch and listen and know all the tricks and everything, I could not figure out how he did what he did. So that week that I learned it, it was just, that I heard it, it was a wake-up call. And I said, this is where I'd like my sound to go. There are places that I will not feel complete unless I understand, unless I push to. I just found my true north in that album. I just like, it was an example of like, this is what music could be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I knew, even if, here's the thing, like one of the reasons I'm a teacher is that like, I don't feel like there's like, if I gave you all of my knowledge and all of my tricks and all of my tools and even all of my, just everything, if I just gave it to you, you would still make different music as me, you know? And so I think that 0 Point was perfect on its own, but I just wondered what kind of music I would make if I had those kinds of skills.
This is like you're describing almost the exact feeling that I had when I was first listening to the Vatex stuff. Like,
oh yeah, no, me too, man.
Yeah. And so strongly, I felt like I 100% agree with you about the thing of like if somebody had all your same skills, that they would make something different. And the thought that I just couldn't get away from after listening to what is it called again? Libet Tones? Yeah. Was like, I wish there was more. And it's, I mean, that's sort of the same feeling that I got with 0 Point as well. Like, I was like, I just wish there was more of this. Yeah, like more stuff that, you know, that I just kind of wished it was like a whole genre. And so it's kind of crazy to me and really comforting in a way to know that other people are sort of having these same feelings of like, you know, hearing something super inspiring and not just wanting, like, because for sure there was the aspect of wanting to make some stuff like that myself, right? There's the aspect of like, I wonder what I could do if I had those kind of techniques under wraps or whatever, like if I knew them really well or something. But at the same, I also really wanted to hear like what other people would do, and it's like, I think those two things are really interesting. And I think that's a thing that, like, the other thing that makes me think of is that this idea of like authorship or and this is a bit of a tangent, but and we can close up this tangent in a second. But the thing that I kind of that whole little discussion kind of made me think of is like how am I going to explain this? So I don't feel like my music is, I'm like under no false pretenses that my music is it's all wonderful me, genius man that came up with all these things, right? I'm very hyper aware that I stand on the shoulders of giants, and that it's because of the help that I've gotten from all different sources and from the circumstances and from the privileges that I have and everything, and the amazing friends that I have. And all that kind of stuff kind of came together. And so to a certain extent, I don't even really feel, when I'm done making my music, a lot of the time I don't really even feel like it's mine. Like that, it's not, I don't feel like the author anymore. It's like once I put it out, it feels like now it's the like our collective creation that we can all kind of enjoy, you know? And I think there's like, and to me, your kind of pursuit of that concatenative synthesis thing, I remember around that time I was searching desperately also to try and figure out how to do it, and I was experimenting with that Max library, but there was this nagging doubt in the back of my head that I was like, if I am the only other person that gets obsessed with this and then tries to put it out, then it's gonna make me feel like I'm just like chasing Rob and trying to be him, you know what I mean? And it just like, once you started talking to me about it, Vibrus also is in the chat, and he started talking to me about it, and once I sort of felt that it was like that it's like, okay, we're all on board here, we're all trying to figure this out, it just started feeling a lot more kind of, it felt more like a cultural moment and less like a personal obsession. And so anyways, that was like a really long tangent. I don't know if you want to mention anything about the authorship thing, but
awesome. No, you're right. It's like when almost going back to what I was talking about, in that I kind of need a process, you know, when you prescribe to a process that is perhaps really complicated, like 7 different steps in order to get this sound, or otherwise really complicated in the sense that to do concatenative synthesis, there's no plugin that does it.
Yeah.
You got to learn to code a little bit. You got to like get, I mean, it's one step away from just writing ones and zeros, you know?
Yeah.
Then you're able to make stuff with it. It's like, it's very, it's like you're honoring this whole, this a new paradigm, that you're doing something to move, to try to move a sound forward. And it's less, like you said, it's less about you. It's more about like, well, it's very ego freeing, you know. You're actually trying to do something in the pursuit of understanding the very thing that you're doing. I don't know.
Feels like almost like a discovery thing, like, you know, and then you bring it back to your friends, like, oh, look what I found, you know. Yeah, very cool.
I remember at that time, I'm so glad Vibrus is here, because I cited you and him both in my dissertation. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned that. So I got into concatenative synthesis, and I was talking to you about it, and I was talking to Vibrus about it. And I mean, who can you talk to about this stuff? Like, I would talk to anyone about it that would listen, you know, because it's just, there's no scene for this. There's not even a plugin for this. How do you even talk about it? And then and you know, we're getting about 3 months into the pandemic now, and I'm over here in the UK, and I'm realizing that I'm going to be an illegal alien here pretty soon, because you can only stay in a country for so long. And at the same time, I was getting into some conversations, and it came up that, like, well, I've been working and I've been giving out master's degrees basically for years at Berkeley, but I didn't have one of my own. Maybe this would be a good time to get a master's degree. And I just remember at some point it clicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm studying concatenative synthesis, and I want to stay in this country, and I want to get a master's degree. That's a really good thing. I'm gonna apply for a master's degree. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. And it wasn't that hard to get in, because, like, how many people will even apply for masters? They're like, yep, I've already been teaching at a master's program for a while. I got good recommendations and stuff, so I got in. Really though, I gotta say, as much as I thought I was qualified, I was absolutely humbled in this program. The absolute geniuses at the University of Edinburgh, like, just made my work feel like Tinker Toys compared to what they were doing. I mean, these guys are the real deal. They're writing software. They're like gods in Max MSP and C Sound and Python, and
that's so cool.
They're making plugins. I took a class on how to make a plugin, and I made Zelay. So it was I think that it was really good for my psyche, and very humbling to go from that role of being a teacher back into the role of being a student, and to actually be really challenged in that role, to not have it just be in the bag. Like, I had to work my ass off to get the grades I got, you know, and I did not know most of the answers to most things. It was a great experience, and it gave me an opportunity to really think about concatenative synthesis, because it's so hard that it, like, one of the reasons I was talking to you and Vibrus about it so much is because I was looking for, like, you kind of need a community sometimes, you know.
Absolutely.
You need to hash out, and you need to say, is this stupid? Should I try this? Have you tried this? And the professors at school were super on board. They were like, oh yeah, corpus-based synthesis. We've been doing it since 2006. Oh yeah, you know, check out this Max patch. Look, it does concatenative synthesis by touching a touchpad. And I'm like, you know, I can't believe that you're here, you know, absolutely schooling me. So I dove into learning about everything I could about concatenative synthesis, and I made it the basically the topic of my thesis and dissertation. And just last September, I graduated from that program, and I got an A on the thesis paper, and I graduated cum laude.
Fuck yeah.
And walked away with some software, or a Max patch I made to do the concatenative stuff, and a 17,000 word document about what I did and how I did it and where it went wrong, where it went right. and a whole bunch of Python presets that I made for doing it. And basically, I plan on publishing it at some point. And my idea for when I published it was, this is my gift for the future me out there. There's going to be another guy that's like, oh man, I really want to get into this. And then they go and Google, how do you do NMF based concatenative synthesis?
Yeah.
And now, instead of finding fuck all, they're going to find, like I did, they're going to find my max patch. And that max patch is like one of 4 ways that you can actually even do it at all on the internet. Like the other ways is like a MATLAB patch. Who the fuck uses MATLAB to make music, first of all?
Yeah.
The second one is a Python patch that's incredible, made by this guy, Chris Traley, and he totally helped me out with everything. He implemented the algorithm for fun on a hack day. And and he put it up as open source. And I took that Python patch, I sent it to my buddy Alex, Proplids, and he was able. I sent him this patch, and I was like, "All right, man, I'm trying to sound like Rob Clouth." So this patch does it, but it only did it in mono, and it only did it to 2 sounds, a source and a target. I said, "Can you make it so it can do it to a whole folder of sounds? Then can it do it in stereo?" And he wrote me back one day later, and he's like, "Here you go." I was like, "Ah!"
It's so mind blowing, like
totally
meeting really good programmers, and they're just like,
I know.
They're like, yeah. There
Blew
you
my
go.
mind. I mean, yeah. But that was it. Yeah, it does the left channel and then the right channel. What else?
Yeah, I love that.
And Alex went on to make a website that did it, because he's like, all right, the problem with NMF concatenation is that it just takes so damn long. So
Can you post that link, the website?
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube for 0.0. Here, one sec.
Oh, I thought I watched that whole video. Shit.
But it's in the description there, because I'm just, my point of putting it out there is that, and putting it out there for free and making it as accessible as possible, is that there's no scene for this, and I so wish that there was. So I'm just trying to
100%.
propagate the idea as much as I can.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So here's the original Let It Be algorithm, and then the open source implementation, and then the Alex Russo version I'm about to post into the Twitch channel.
Okay, perfect.
Boom. So that first link is the paper, how NMF mosaicing happened. I got to interview the guy that invented NMF mosaicing. Is a guy named Jonathan Dreiger. I hunted him down.
That's the Dreiger guy. Yo, that's
Dreiger.
amazing.
Yeah, Dreiger Iterations. He invented that.
That's so sick.
So I hit him up and I was like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of Rob Clouth? Have you ever heard this album 0 Point?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Dude, your algorithm is being used to make some of the sickest electronic music I've ever heard." And he's like, "Really?" He didn't know, and that just blew my mind. I sent him the album. I'm like, "Dude, you gotta listen to this. This was made with your idea."
Yeah.
And we hopped on a Zoom call. He's a really nice guy. His work right now has to do with he works for a site I think called Chordify. Basically, you feed it a song, and it'll automatically come up with the chord progression, which is
cool.
based on concatenative synthesis. It's music information retrieval.
Interesting.
And instead of giving you segments, it gives you, oh, this is this chord, this is probably this chord.
Right.
Comes up with it, and
remember,
so he's really into those kind of algorithms.
I think I remember finding Chordify when I was on my sort of hunt to make the AI for the cello thing. I'm pointing behind me because one of the cellos is sitting there behind me. Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay, so yeah, we made this. Me and my friend made this show. This is like a cello with these robots that my friend made, and it can pluck, and then these motors move the fingers up and down, and it can play any note on any string. And then I wrote an AI that's able to like come up with things for it to play. And then
Wow.
yeah, it's a fun project. We're actually playing it in 2 weeks. We have another week of shows at the SAT in the projection dome. We're doing
you're doing another projection dome thing. That is so cool, man.
It's so fun
I so wish
playing
I could
in
be there.
Yeah. It's just like a nice, and that place is a really nice vibe because there's like the techs that work there there's a new guy that works there, and I want to shout him out, but Forgetting his name at the moment. And he's like just really into glitch stuff. Like, so I went in there to do sort of like a video residency, and he's like, oh, you're using Touch Designer? Oh, check this out. Oh, check, you can break this, and then if you break this thing out and then do this, and then send it to this text document, and then flip it back over this way. And I was like, what are you talking? This is amazing. So I just ended up hanging out with him for like days and days doing that. Anyways, sorry, that was a total aside. But
that's awesome. I'm really interested now to check out this cello piece, by the way.
Well,
man, that's so cool.
I think we'll have another nice video after this, so I can send it to you. What was I going to say? Yeah, so in the pursuit of that, in the AI stuff, that's why I ended up kind of falling off of the concatenative stuff, because I was really focusing on trying to learn the AI stuff for this thing, which drove me absolutely up the wall. It was horrible, but but it works, so whatever. But yeah, I found Chordify and I think a couple other things that I just thought, like, all these really nice and interesting tools for sort of like getting computers to sort of understand sound in different ways. That's really cool that that's him. I didn't know that was his stuff. What he says, Audio Labs link doesn't work.
Oh, sorry guys. Probably because of Oh, okay. Audio Labs link doesn't work. Oh, because it was ... Okay, sorry. Here we go. Boom. That should work.
I really wish that Rob had, because he sent me an early version of, or not an early version, it was like the version that he used, or he made it so that like it was a max patch, the reconstructor or whatever that he made that did the NMF thing. It was offline, but it did it in the DAW, and it had a cool like link with free sound, so you would search for the types of sounds that you wanted, and then you could populate from that list, I thought that was kind of a nice touch also. But I couldn't get that fucking thing to work. Although I think when I get my new laptop, I'm going to try again, because I found it on an old hard drive.
I mean, have you used 0.0 yet?
Yeah, I played with it recently. I really liked it.
I think, oh, thanks. I think one of the real genius about Rob Clouth and his approach was that the thing is that I've put 0.0 out, and maybe only 1 in 10 people actually really figure out how to make it figure out how to make it make good sounds. Because it's hard. It's not, there's not like any other mode of making music than anyone's used to. And what helped me was that I had an interview with Rob during my dissertation too. And I said, all right, nitty gritty, what are your settings here? What are you doing here to like what polyphony, for instance? That's one of the settings in this. And polyphony, it's a little tricky to understand, but in NMF, it's like, how many segments of other sounds can you put together in order to represent the sound that you're looking for a target? And that's actually not determined by just giving an arbitrary number like 3. I'm going to find 3 things. Instead, though, that's determined in the target and in how it's decomposed. NMF, non-negative matrix factorization, it starts by decomposing the target, which means that you take this target and you take like an FFT, basically a spectral footprint, and then you tell the machine learning, you say, I want you to look for 3 different things, 3 different elements. So if you, for instance, if it's a guitar, it's probably going to be, the sound of the pick and the sound of the low strings and the sound of the high strings. That might be how it separates. How it separates these sounds, you don't know. That's the cool thing about machine learning. It's just like you just throw it stuff and you're like, figure it out. It's unsupervised machine learning.
Yeah.
So how you decompose that signal, that's the polyphony. So if you decompose the signal into 3 components, it's going to find 3 things that remake those 3 components.
Very cool.
But the cool thing about NMF is that you can take something like a guitar and you can say, hey, break this down into 100 pieces. And I mean, and we're talking spectrally, not time-wise. We're talking like how do you take a guitar and turn it into 100 layers?
Yeah.
How do you do that? You know, not that all the layers have to be playing at the same time. It's not going to find 100 sounds at the same time all the time. It's just going to look for 100 different things.
That's really cool.
You know, 6-string instrument. How are you going to do that? And the machine learning just sorts it out, just figures it out. So you can test out these real theoretical things. Like, all right, break down a guitar into 100 pieces and replace it with sounds of rain. Go. Like, what happens?
Yeah. That's so cool. Do you want to actually... I was thinking, so you know how you were saying about the settings, that was kind of a big journey, and that's maybe a big... you know, I mean, that is a really difficult part of doing this stuff. I was wondering if maybe you would do a little demo for us of like how you sort of set up 0 point, and not the setup part, but like, you know, the kind of, say somebody has it set up, they kind of know sort of vaguely, like they know how it works, but they don't know, they want some guidance on like what settings to set it to, and just your sort of like advanced level, kind of give us the sort of nitty-gritty details.
Cool. You see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is what you see when you load 0.0. I advise everyone getting this to read the fine print. You need these required externals. You need them installed correctly. And you should probably read some of my tips. Like the main... all the problems that people email me about are right here.
Yeah,
this
is the brutal pain of like putting out these plugins. Is that man? You would be surprised with some of the, like, I feel like a lot of my plugins are really simple, but some of the like I get some really funny questions, and I'm always like, just there's a text document. Just read the fucking page, goddammit. It
says read me.
Yeah. Try that first.
So I'll point out some of these tips first. Like, first of all, something that everyone needs to know is that concatenative synthesis is a kind of synthesis. First of all, let's start with the definition. What is concatenative synthesis? Because that's not completely agreed upon, actually, because it's so new. It's such a thing. But basically, concatenative synthesis has two different components. The first one is music information retrieval, and the second component is the actual synthesis. So what you do with that information and how you actually end up making the sound. And anytime you have a combination of those things, that could be considered concatenative synthesis. So we'll start with the first part, music information retrieval. Basically means collecting data about a sound. So how loud is it? What are the predominant frequencies? Where are the transients? So frequency, loudness, panning, stereo depth, all of this can be translated to information. Now, what information you take, that's up to you, the programmer. What's important, and that's a creative decision too. What's important to you? Like, are you trying to do something where pitch is not important? You know, like if you're trying to do like music concrete or trying to make some crazy glitch, maybe you just don't care about the music. Like you don't care about the notes. I mean, you know,
hey,
or
no, I'm just kidding.
You're just trying to do percussive stuff. And that was very much, check out the work of Rodrigo Constanzo, has done a lot of incredible work on concatenative synthesis. And he basically rigged up a system where he had a snare drum. He does this thing called Kaizo snare. And he rigged up a snare drum with some sensors and MIDI controllers. And he's pulling up sounds from an audio library, depending on what sounds he's making on the snare.
Oh, that's very
And
cool.
as he was making this, he's like, I care about the timbre. I really care about the zero crop. I really care about transients. I need the best transient detector out there. Mm-hmm. And I care about these things, but I don't care about, like, it's a snare. Like, I don't need a thing that senses what pitch I'm playing. There's no pitch. This is just timbre. I need it to respond to the sound. So that's the first creative decision when you're kind of creating a concatenative system. What information do you need in order to get the results that you want? What do you care about in the music that you're trying to make? And different concatenative synthesis algorithms are better for different things. Okay, so that's music information retrieval. It's scanning a sound either in real time or offline and getting information about it, or one sound or two sounds or a whole collection of sounds, arbitrary. And then there's the synthesis. Like, you could say that point zero is the engine that actually puts together the sounds is granular, you could say. Because it's taking just full segments of sounds, not like a portion of it, not just the high end or the low end. No, it's taking just one little portion of the sound and using that. And it might be several portions, but it's not breaking down the source sound. It's like it takes this target, it says, oh, okay, you look like a kick drum. All right, now find something that kind of looks like a kick drum. And this looks like kind of like a kick drum. It's there. So you can kind of think of that as granular synthesis, except the parameters are all created by the music information retrieval. You know, how long is it? What kind of sound is it? That's all determined and informed and created by the music information retrieval. So concatenative synthesis is this balance between these two things, and they're two very different worlds. One is data science, and the other is creative music synthesis. And there hasn't been a lot of crossovers in this world. I mean, there just aren't a lot of data scientists out there who also make great electronic music, other than Rob Clough.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like one of the only ones out there, which is why you don't get a lot of it. Okay, so let's jump into the tutorial part.
Hold on, before you do,
so,
there was a good question here.
Okay. Oh, I see it right here.
Yeah, is 0.0 faster or somehow better than Python let it be implementation, not counting convenience? Is it a different
Is it
approach?
faster? It is not faster, but I would not say it's that much slower. I think, though, that it's a little slower because it's Max, and so Max is just a little bit slower with this stuff than Python. But
also,
both are really slow. I'm going to have to just dash your hopes in trying to get a fast version of this right now.
On that note, I think one way that you could get a little bit faster, so the way that, and I didn't have the funds to try this, but in Google Colab, so you can run the Python one in Google Colab, and you can pay Google to let you borrow a faster machine. And I don't know what the limit is there for like the fastest you can get, but that may be a way that you can get it faster. But I think like that speed is sort of negated by the inconvenience of having to do that,
upload, download, and
all that shit. Yeah. Whereas this, I think, ends up being faster because this is more integrated. Like, this is a kind of better workflow integration. So
exactly, convenience and interface makes 0.0 faster. I'd say that that is true, because unless you're really comfortable looking at this all day and doing your sound design here, then it's infinitely more convenient to do something in 0.0.
For sure.
Also, because I did my dissertation in this, I have done tests. It is pretty much the same amount of time between one or the other. And Rob Clough has figured out how to do it faster because he codes his own shit. And he got a computer with a really fat GPU. And GPUs, graphic processors, what do they do really well? They multiply matrices together really well. And what is this technique? Non-negative matrix factorization. It's comparing matrices together. Oh my God, Halfred is here.
Hey,
one of the best
Halfred.
sound designers in the world. What's up, Halfred? Really good to see you. I just missed him in London, just played a show here. And anyway, big shout out to Halfred.
Nice.
Huge inspiration and some of the best best sound design in the world. I just love that guy. Let's actually use some Halford sounds because he's here.
Right.
Let's do that. All right. So anytime you do concatenative synthesis, you have to have two sounds. The first one is a target, and the first one's a source. So a source is the sounds that you will end up hearing in the end. The source is like, let's say you wanted to make a beat out of fart noises. The fart noises are the source, basically. And the beat would be the target. So in this style of concatenative synthesis, you're basically taking a source and you're using that as fodder to recreate algorithmically a target. So you need these two sounds. The thing about a source, though, is that it doesn't need to be just one sound. It could be a collection of sounds. And if you have a lot of different sounds, then it's what's called a corpus. A corpus is just data science terminology for a data set or a database. All right, so the first thing we do is we load a source. So we load in the sounds that we want to use. And I happen to have a collection of Halford sounds. Let's just...
Hell yeah.
I just type that in. See what happens.
It's going to be lush.
I have excessive Halford sounds. Here we go.
Oh, he's got a free sample pack. Halford, do you want to drop a link to your free sample pack?
Yes, please link to your... Because I think that people are going to hear how awesome this sounds and then say, oh, I'll start with Halford's stuff too. Okay, so let's start with percussion, maybe? Oh, wait, these aren't downloaded. Damn you. Damn you, Dropbox. I put like my whole library into my Dropbox, and if I don't use it for a while, then it just uploads it to the cloud. Okay, we must have more stuff in here. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is first I'm actually just going to make a temporary folder, and let's call it Ben's Halford Corpus 1. And this is actually one of the funnest parts of this artistic process, is like what goes into your corpus. It's almost like throwing together ingredients in like a soup. You know, you're like, all right, I need something that represents low frequencies. I need something that represents really crispy, nice transients. I need something wide, maybe. I need something textural. And that gets you thinking about like, all right, well, what are the elements you want to work with here? Are you going for wet? Are you going for dry? Are you going for like realistic? So without even listening to these much, let's grab a couple of bubble sounds. And I'm just option dragging, so I'm going to copy these in folders. Crunchy. I don't even know what these sound like. Oh, yeah, these are going to be great. So let's take a couple of those. Weird. I wonder what this is. I don't know if you all can hear. Can you hear that?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good one. So I'll throw that in there. And, okay, let's see. Maybe just one or two more things. Oh, yeah. Love these water pops in here. There's stones and some wood sounds. And it'd be cool to get like maybe some tonal sounds. Broken piano. What do we got here?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Those are great.
Yeah. Those are great. I need like something that can that's like a real tone, but maybe we'll do that later. Okay, so we got a little corpus going here. Now I'm going to take this folder. I'm gonna drag and drop it to where it says source folder. And what the Max Patch does when you do this is it takes every single sound and it just glues them onto each other into one buffer. Bop, 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 bop. And man, that's actually really, really cool. I've used this just before in my, I have this function in my granular stuff. It is so cool to take a folder full of stuff and put it into one buffer, because then you can explore that buffer completely fluidly. Ugh. And look, I started off with like small sounds. So look, it says buffer size 0.11 minutes. That's a good sign.
Nice. Okay.
All right. And so now let's find the let's do a loop. Let me type in loop. Oh my gosh. Probably shouldn't have just searched for loop. There's so many things that are loops. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. This is random. It's a thing. Oh, there we go. Did you hear that? That's kind of Indian music.
That's great.
Oh, that's cool. All right, so we're gonna recreate that sound using the Halford sounds algorithmically. And fortunately, because I've done a small buffer size, this should actually go pretty quickly. All right, now we get down to this part right here. This is a real hard part. So polyphony, like I said, what polyphony is going to do is it's going to look at the target and it's going to decompose, literally that's what it's called, to decompose this target. And it's going to try to find a number of components. Now, when you feed it a drum set and you like find 5 components, it normally does a really good job of being like, okay, that's a kick drum, that's a snare, that's a hi-hat. Can actually find these different sounds, even if they're not all playing at the same time. It's just looks at the whole thing and tries to find 5 things.
That's very cool.
But because of that, if there is any overlapping, it's going to actually find more than one sound to do that component. So because of that, when we do percussive sounds, we like the polyphony to be low. And this became a realization I had when I talked to Rob Clouth. I asked him what his polyphony settings were. He says normally 1 or 3. And I was like, I've been doing things all the way up here. Who knows? I don't know what to do, you know? So percussive sounds, really low polyphony. And then we go to iterations. This is the machine learning. Machine learning is an iterative process where it gradually gets better at something. Basically, it will produce better results with each iteration. I wish I could explain that more clearly, but I'm not a data scientist. I've seen it work though, and basically, it's trying to extrapolate information, and the more times you give it to think about it, the more precise it'll be. Anyway, I've run a lot of tests with iterations. It seems like you can't really tell the difference about how many iterations you do past 20.
I can fill that in a little bit for the machine learning part. So
yeah, right, because you've been doing this. Go for it.
So your neural network or whatever, your machine learning algorithm is basically this kind of like big grid of weights and balances. And all that means is like weights is one number and then balance is another number. And so what you do is like as it goes through your whole network, and then so say you initially set it up with like all zeros or all whatever or just fill it with random numbers, and so say you have like 0.5 in there, and then your number that comes through is a 1. Then you have like an amount that by which you're going to adjust that number. So say it's like by 0.5 or whatever. So when that 1 comes in, it's going to turn your 0.5 into 0.75 or whatever. And then what it's trying to do by doing that, and you feed it lots of different information, is like kind of learn the pattern of that information. So then when you feed other stuff into it, it's going to kind of sort it with that same patterning. So that's what the iterations is doing. It's like how many times do you pass it through those filters to adjust the sizes of each of those little numbers. So in this case, yeah, probably the reason that you can't once your neural net is trained, like so that those numbers are roughly in the right place, doing it more times isn't necessarily going to help because it'll maybe just be moving that number sort of back and forth or whatever. Or if it's already at 0.75 or it's whatever, it's already at 1, we said we put in a 1 and it changes to 0.75, you put in the 1 again, it's going to get it closer to 1 and closer and closer. And then once it reaches 1, if you're always putting 1s through there, that value isn't changing anymore. So once you reach a certain amount of iterations, there's kind of nothing to be gained there, so that's why it'll start. It's like it's good, it's set. And or for example, say you're always putting a 1 or a 0 in there, then eventually it'll be around that 0.5 range, and you won't there's kind of no point in putting more of those zeros and ones in there anymore because it's already set to like the kind of optimal value there. So that's the iterations.
Yeah, that's an amazing explanation there. So I found that you really can't tell that often if the iterations are above 20, and the higher the iterations are, the longer this shit's going to take. So you want this to be as low as you can without compromising the quality. So then we come to FFT settings, and this is basically the window that it's analyzing both the target and the source with. And if this window is really, really small, then you end up getting like more accurate results a lot of the time, like especially with percussive sounds, because you're taking these really small windows and you're like, what's happening now? And what's happening now? What's happening now? And it does the analysis of the spectrum. I used to think these numbers meant like FFT settings, like how many bands are in the FFT, but this is actually how many samples the window is that you're looking at. So these are very small amounts of time. And then you get to continuity. Okay, so continuity is whatever your FFT settings are, that many samples. Continuity is when you choose a chunk, like, are we just going to replace each millisecond with some other millisecond? Or are we going to play a second of the target with the second of the source? So continuity is like how many windows constitutes one sound. So the large continuity, the larger the chunk is that you're going to get. To turn continuity up a little bit at first because you can get a really clear sense of what sound it's picking. And then time sparsity is really cool. It's really unique to the Flukma iteration of NMF, where after it chooses a chunk, it waits for that many frames to choose the next to have that chunk available to choose again. So if you turn the continuity up, then you're going to get more variation. So for instance, you look at 1 second and you're like, the thing that matches this is this sound. And then you look at the next second, and you're like, ooh, it's the same sound, basically matches this one. So a lot of NF might sound like kind of glitchy because it's choosing the same sound again and again. And when you time sparsity up, you basically force it to not be able to choose the same sound after so many frames. All right, so we got our settings. Polyphony 1, iterations 20, FFT setting 1024. I'm going to turn that down to 512, but that would take twice as long. We're not going to do that. Continuity, I don't know. Let's go a little bit higher. Time sparsity, that's pretty good. And now we look at it all. We say, is this what we want? Oh, yeah, and the last thing, and I'm pretty proud of this. We have this toggle right here. And this is one thing that mine has that Rob Klaus doesn't have. You can choose how you are doing the stereo imaging. So mid-side means that it's going to break the sound down into its mid and side sounds and then concatenate them separately and put them back together. And left-right means it's going to concatenate the left and then the right channel to matching left and right channels between the source and the target. So I like to do left-right. That's the classic Rob Klaus sound. Left-right stereo separation, which has a really nice, like analog synthesizers do that. Okay, these are my settings. I think it's good. Let go. We hit go, and then we wait. Oh, it's going. Amazing. All right, here it goes. Y'all ready for this? I'll hit result and then hit preview. Here it goes.
Oh,
hey, you hear that? It really latched on to the... Oh. You didn't hear it? Oh.
No, we heard it. We just heard it like way later. Can you play it again?
Oh. What? One more time. So yeah, that's and if you want, you can play that and the target at the same time. Oh, like turn that off. Target that. Oh wait, like there we go. You can kind of see it kind of matches up, but it's really latching on to
That's great.
It's really latching onto the watery, bubbly samples. So a lot of this is like kind of test things out and then just your recipe, right? Oh, wait. So let me go back to, let me type in Halford again. Halford. And okay, so I go in there and say, all right, you are latching on to the watery sounds. I'll take all seconds. Let's take the double bubble out, and let's put broken piano in. Greg likes those broken pianos.
Hell yeah.
And let's put some other stuff that wasn't there before. We'll do like what does this sound like? I love the sample collection because all these sounds are so tiny. Let's put a bunch of hits in, and let's spice it up this time.
Wait, Ben.
And put. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry to interrupt. You keep going. I'm just going to go to the bathroom really quickly. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
All right. Let's spice it up and put an orgasm sound in there. I've got a lot of different orgasm sounds. I downloaded them from a site called the Orgasm Library. You should check it out. These are sliced. Here we go. Orgasm, small clips. Yeah, so let's grab some of these. Basically, the Orgasm Project is trying to document real sounding sounds of passion. I thought that was really interesting, and some of my best concatenations with those sounds. All right, so those are in there. Those are in the recipe. I do not know what it's going to latch onto. Let's drag that new one into the source folder. Now we're just a little bit longer, and let's go ahead and hit go. Boom. See what's going on in the chat room. Yeah, Halford, I cannot wait to hear what you do with this thing. All right, let's see what it did. Oh gosh, I like that. You can kind of hear an orgasm in there. You can kind of almost hear voice in there. Kind of hear it, almost. Wow, this is going so fast. Let's go ahead and turn the iterations up just to see if there's a difference. And let's turn the FFT settings down a little bit. All right, go. It should take twice as long at least. But let's see how big of a difference it'll have on the sound. Absolutely, subliminal sound design messaging. I really like. One aspect of this is you kind of get a uncanny valley effect. Like for those of you who don't know, there's been some studies on this that where if you show a human being a doll, we're gonna think, oh, that's cute. And if you show a human being another human being, you're like, okay, you're a person. But there's this moment in between doll and person where something is like kind of human but not quite, that really freaks us out. Like zombies freak us out, you know, things that are like twitching, almost alive bodies. And that's called the uncanny valley effect, is that we tend to like things that look like us. And then there's this valley where we're like, no, we don't like that. It kind of looks like us, but it doesn't. And it goes up, and that's the uncanny valley. But as we're getting close to uncanniness, there's this like horrifying range. And I find that you can kind of get that in the sound realm with concatenative synthesis, because this is almost something that you recognize, but not quite. It's this uncomfortable middle ground that's really, really cool. All right, so we jacked up the iterations. We made the FFT settings faster, and we've thrown some orgasm sounds in here. So let's see how it sounds. You hear the voices in there?
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Cool. It's beautiful. Let's do the amen break.
Hell yeah.
If all else fails, it's always the amen break. I got a great collection, by the way, that called the Amen Break Remastered 2014. You can probably find it in a Google search, but someone took the cleanest Amen Break, ran it through a bunch of analog compression, and it just sounds really, really good.
That's great.
I'll send it to you if you want. I'll even throw it on the list. I'll give it to you guys.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. All right, so let's send a really clean amen break right into the target. And go. Okay, so while that's going, that might take a little bit longer because it's... Oh, all right. It's going to go pretty quickly. You guys can ask Fibrous, too. He's actually got the record for... Notice that down here at the bottom under Save Results, it says, that took 0.94 minutes to render. You see that?
That's nice. That's a nice little
I added that just to help with my research, because so often I'd throw some massive source in there, and I'd hit go, and it would take all fucking day to render. And I just wanted to know how long these would take. And so at the peak of my insanity, I was sharing screenshots with Vibrus, like, look, this took 100 minutes to render, and then he'd send one back and he'd be like, boom, this took 3 days. I think he got over 1,000-minute render time on one of these things. I think he put like an entire track in as the target, and it was that was just insane and awesome. To watch him get through that. All right, we're here at about 60%. We're almost there. And I would love to show, if anyone's interested, this is just one way to do concatenative synthesis, and the other way that I do it is in Python.
Please do, please show that too.
Believe it or not, is actually not so hard. So we're almost at the end of this, and then we'll put some long thing in there, and then we'll get into Python.
Nice. I also have a public Google Colab for people who want to try it the Python way, but don't want to write any code. This one, you just have to change the names of things, and it goes.
For NMF?
Yeah. It can't do the corpus thing, I don't think, but it can take...
Well, that's okay, because you can just... I mean, literally, anyone with Ableton can just be like, I want this sound, this sound, this sound, this sound, and then hit Command J and consolidate it, and you got yourself a corpus.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah. All right, let's check it out. This is an amen break through the filter of Halford sounds plus a couple orgasms. Here we go.
That's great.
Oh man, it's squishy, isn't it?
Yeah,
wow,
that's really nice.
Yeah. All right, let's turn the continuity up a little bit and turn the time sparsity way up. And maybe get the iterations back down because I didn't hear much of a difference. And let's put polyphony at maybe 3, and then let's do a different one. Let's do funky drummer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. 18
Classic.
seconds long. Classic. All right, so this will take a little bit longer. Maybe not that high. Maybe just down here. Okay. And while we wait for this, we'll go ahead and do this Python stuff. And this was my real process. I would go over and spend a lot of time meditating on what do I want this corpus to be. And you have to think ahead. You have to think, what am I trying to recreate here? Am I trying to recreate tones or rhythm? And if I'm trying to do rhythm, what components do we have? Kick drum, hi-hat, stuff like that. Do I have those sounds that I can expect to represent that? Because you can't just put crinkling leaves in and hope that sound recreates banging techno track. It's like the kick drum and the bass and stuff is just not there. So you actually have to really be mindful about, is your recipe covering the spectrum that you're trying to recreate? Because if you fuck this up, you're gonna pay for it because you just waited how long to hear what it sounded like, and then you're like, oh, why did I even do that? That was all right. So this is at 4%. I think that this will take about 5 minutes. And while we wait for this, while that's cooking, let's go head on over to terminal. All right. So for those of you that have never used the terminal in the bash script, the first thing you got to do is specify what folder are we doing stuff in. And you do that by typing CD, and then you drag and drop a folder in. So I have my audio guide folder right here. And I'm going to take that and drag it and drop it right there. And then hit enter. So see, now it says Encanti is MVP, audio guide master, and then it's ready for a command. And when you see that, it can run some kind of code that's inside of that folder. All right, so this is Audio Guide by Ben Hackbarth. And there's a great website for this. Here it is. They're always updating it. And this is like the most massive and thorough concatenative synthesis implementation that's available right now. It's an ongoing project, and oh look, is the website even broken? Oh wow. Oh my gosh, it's not even loading for me. It's that crazy. Okay, let's go to the documentation. They were updating it while I was working on the project. Like, they'd be like, "How you can do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I downloaded it and try a new thing." And anyway, you go to the documentation, and this is the Bible of this thing. It's so long. It tells you exactly what's happening. And the thing that makes this so cool is that there are so many ways that you can analyze the sound, and then so many ways that you can recreate the sound. All right, so how do you create a preset for this? So by the way, first of all, I've got a concatenative synthesis journal. And bro, I have conversations I had with you up here. Nice. This is like, this is like kind of just my notes from when I was starting on this stuff.
Awesome.
Anyway, so...
Wait, can you post that link in the chat? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Audio Guide. Let's post it to the chat. Cool.
Nice.
Alrighty, so let's see. So I often forget about how to even work this stuff. It is not like riding a bike. But then I go in here and I say, oh, okay. I basically just copied and pasted scripts that I use. So here it says Python, AG concatenate, and then this thing that says examples. Okay, so basically, see this says ag concatenate.py, and it says simplest copy 7.py. The file that says .py is like the preset. And so here you got Encanti preset, hi-hat maker, drum maker, diversifier. You have all these presets in it. And you open this up, and it's just a couple lines of code. And this code is basically a preset for the AG concatenate code, the main code. So let me just hit date modified, and let me just try to run a preset. Just to see, like drum maker 4. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here and type in Python because we're using Python, and ag concatenate.py, the name of this preset. And before I hit go on that, let me just open this really quick. It opens up an Xcode, but it could also open up an Atom. You kind of need a coding program to get this to work. All right, so let me kind of walk you through what this is going to do as far as I understand it. So here you specify the target. The target is the sound you're trying to recreate. And it says tilt shift drums add kick noise .wave. All right, let's go find that sound. Make sure it's in the right place. Oh, that's boring. Oh, fuck that. Let's do the funky drummer. Let me go back and find my funky drummer. All right. So I'm gonna take that guy and drag it and drop it to Audio Guide. And take the name of it, copy it, and put it right there. So it says, all right, that's going to be our thing. There's a threshold. And you have some other settings here that I've grayed out. Anytime you push tag, it grays out something. So that's a cool way to like have a bunch of shit there that you can just copy and paste if you want to use it, or if you don't, you just don't. All right, and then under corpus, you specify what folder is it pulling things from. So it's pulling everything from a folder called Eve1 hits. It's been a year since I opened this up, so I do not remember what's in there. Let's go take a look. Eve1 hits. All right, what do we got in here? Ooh, got some good stuff. Dragging tissue, water splat. I got a lot of these from Freesound. Some of these I made, like this is a granular synthesis version of my Catherine whispering, and then I granulated it so it just sounds like this trippy like cloud of whispering. Each of these videos has a text file next to it, and all of this says is where the transients are. See? So you do this analysis in advance. You analyze, and this is essentially the slices.
You don't have to write that.
You don't have to write that. It does that automatically. When you create a corpus, you have to run this other script that like basically does the math on how are you slicing it and stuff like that, and then it uses those slices in this one. And basically, after you slice it, then you analyze all the slices, and based on the data here, figure out which slice you want to use. And that's what it's what you're trying to figure out right here. Basically, under search, it says, okay, on your first pass, find the closest sound that you can to each slice, but it says closest percent, so it has to be within the 70th percentile of sounding like your sound. And I want you to find a sound that has the same zero crossings, like a when there's a transient in my sound, I want there a transient in that sound. And I want you to find that sounds that have the same duration. So remember I talked about concatenative synthesis. You have to decide what you like about it. You have to decide what's important to you in the sound. So these are the things I found important. These are I want sounds to sound close to a percentage, but I need sounds that have the transients, and I need the sounds to be the same length. Other things that we can do is we can say, hey, I want it to have the same spectral footprint almost. I want it to have you could stay the same pitch, all these sorts of other things, and those are all in here. And then I take a second pass, and each pass kind of filters out things. And power seg means basically I want it to be close to the same amplitude as well. So you're kind of narrowing down what kind of segments that you want to replace a segment there. And then this last thing is superimpose, and it says maximum overlap. You can only have 2 sounds overlapping at once, and only 1 segment at a time. What is the sample rate? Blah blah blah. And what's the name of the output path? We'll say output, or call it woulg weekly test 1.aiff. And let's save this as actually, I'm just gonna make a copy of that. And I'm just gonna hit save on this. Call it. Okay. All right, so I have now this preset, and I'm just gonna plug it into here. And let's see what happens. Go. Oh, nothing. Did I misspell AG concatenate? I probably did. Input output error. Can't open file. Oh, interesting.
Maybe you... No, I don't know.
This is why I take notes, because I often am like, I don't understand what's going on. Maybe I gotta do Python 3. Huh. Oh, okay. Well, let's go look in here really quick. Oh, it can't be opened.
Oh, did we fuck something up in there?
I mean, this is like, if this kind of like tedious work makes you uncomfortable, run.
Yeah, word.
You're not gonna like it. Okay, let's
This is really interesting. I didn't know about this one.
okay, I'm gonna take like an older version of this and copy and paste it and just replace it, because why not?
Nice.
Can't be read or written.
Maybe you opened it with something else, like something else is kind of holding it in memory or something. I have trauma, I think, from using Windows, and it just like doesn't want to share files. Like doesn't want to allow two different things to use the same file a lot of the time, and it's just a whole nightmare. Do you want me to show? So I have to finish up here in 15 minutes.
I think that this is glitching out for us, unfortunately, which is a good thing I know now, because if I want to do this, I will eventually want to do this presentation in a little bit more official capacity. Mm-hmm. But this is basically what you would do, and then it would go ahead and tell you, it would hopefully poop out a sound that you wanted. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, maybe I'll show the. Oh no, it would kind of be nice to have that in the same thing. I was gonna show quickly show the Google Colab thing that I have that does the other version. Do. Okay, so maybe I'll do that while you're kind of doing that bit.
Yeah.
If you want to turn off your screen share.
I'll tell you if it works.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll try to quickly whip that up, and I'll move your face over to the side a little bit. So I think it's in this guy. And we want, is it in here? Nope. I have to find this again, sorry. Where did I put it? Did I call it Let It Be? Hard to say. Oh wait, what did I see there? No. Concatenate, no. What's the collab notebook ending? Fuck you. God damn it. God damn it. Okay. I don't know where I put this. Maybe it's in a different account now. Maybe it's in this one. I really thought it was in that one. So,
hey, we got a little song out of you.
I think I may have found it. It's either. Yeah, here we go. Which one is the? I think they're both shared. Okay. Do you want me to share my screen, Ben, or you can see it on the? Can you see it on the Twitch? I think that'll save me a little bit of CPU to do it like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. Are you watching the stream, or do you want me to share my screen? Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did that cut out the audio for the stream? No. Okay. Okay. So this is the notebook, and here I'll share the link. So basically, what I've done here is, you can just open this up, and this is sort of set up already to download everything that you need onto this, because this is like a remote computer that we're using. So this is going to download everything that you need in here, and then you just have a couple lines a little bit later for running the thing. So we can just go through here. Here you press play on each one of these little guys, and so now you can see what it's doing. It's downloading the Let It Be patch from GitHub. It's downloading
Oh,
all
sick.
the requirements. It's downloading Rubber Band, the command line interface, and then I just have a couple lines in here that just tells you when it's done and what to do, because at the end of this, then you have to restart your runtime, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. So, and you only have to do this part once. I don't know why it's trying to uninstall a bunch of stuff, but whatever. Just let it do its thing. And then when it's done, it will be done soon. Yeah, so when it's done, it says setup complete, restart runtime now. Then we can go up here. Oops, sorry. Go up here and put restart runtime. Let me click that. Let me say yes, and give it a second to start back up. And now this is so you can mount your Google Drive, so you can save your samples straight to your Google Drive. I'm going to skip that part for now. And we can just jump straight down here. So here, here we need to specify the input and the output, and I think I made it so that you can, or maybe it let you do wave or MP3 files in there also. So what we need to do is put this stuff in here. So this folder that we're in here is called, oh shit, why did I get out of there? Content. So can we just go back in there? Just go all the way. Okay, whatever, or don't. Really, you don't want to take me in there? Okay, fine. So now we just need to upload a sample in there. And for simplicity, I'll just take 2 samples and do this with that. So let's take some random sample. Oops, not that one. Friends, breathy, and let's just take some little sample of Imogen Heap, or maybe this one might be good. What is this?
Never be alone, you know you'll always be loved.
Okay.
Air compressed tight to explode.
This might be not enough stuff. Whatever. Okay, so let's take Imogen Heap Half-Life and we'll toss it in there. But yeah, okay, this is going to delete the files after we're done with them, which is fine. And then we need another sound. That's going to be the other part of this. And maybe for this, I think I have some saxophone somewhere, and I think that could be fun. Sax, come on. Sax. Oh, hello. Fucking damn it. So sloppy with the keyboard these days. I'm gonna keep pressing the wrong buttons and everything. I'm an idiot. Why do I keep doing that?
Old man.
Yeah. I feel like
I figured out what it was, the problem with my thing, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
It was the same Dropbox thing. I hadn't opened it for a long time, so it just uploaded all my stuff to the cloud.
Okay, let's grab, this is a sax loop. Let's try and get some a bit longer. Okay, come on, give me some bigger stuff, or longer stuff. Okay, beautiful. That's fantastic.
That's awesome. Are you using that as a corpus, or a...
yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. This one, we'll say... Oops. Yeah, whatever. Okay, copy that, and that will be our source. And then we'll copy this name. Oops, fucking hell. Copy that, and that will be our target. Don't know if we need...
Wow, you can do it with spaces in there? I can't do it with spaces.
Yeah, maybe not, actually. We might have to... Let's rename them. Imogen.
Imogen.
And then this one is going to be
No, that has no spaces.
Sax.
Oh, okay. Sax. Okay.
Just for clarity, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all right, we got sax wave, and we got Imogen. And then yeah, whatever results 2. That's fine. And let's just see if it works. And I can't remember. Oh yeah, you can set the settings in here. So these are the default settings. If you want to change stuff, I honestly don't quite remember how to do that. Maybe it's later in here or something. This is okay. Yeah, don't try the Google Drive thing. I think I didn't finish making that. So now we can download this guy, and we'll see what it sounds like. Oh, that didn't sound like much. I can't remember what our first sample was, what the Imogen Heap one sounded like. Anyway, so this is a way that you can kind of do it online. I'm not going to go through all the stuff because it's sort of like, yeah, you're going to have to kind of struggle through it a little bit if you're going to do it and explore in there. But I wouldn't worry about changing I found that this gave reasonably good settings, especially, or that this was reasonably good settings for the, like for doing the, what am I saying here? For doing kind of tonal stuff or you know, the kind of stuff that we're kind of imagining this was supposed to be. These settings work reasonably well, and this automatically does the like repitching thing, so that should all be in there. Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna do lots of support and stuff for it. Oh, it looks like, yeah, here you could do it if you did it in your drive. So maybe this stuff is even in my drive. Let's see if that's still in there. Oh, we have to link the drive. Actually, no, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to waste everybody's time with this. But so that's there if you want to do it the pain in the ass way. But the better way is to do it with Ben's 0.0 patch.
I mean, but your way is faster. That's what you're saying.
No, it's definitely not faster. The only reason that I had that is because that was before I had your patch. So yeah, that's the only reason that I had that. That was from way back in the day where I was like, oh, I really want to try it, and I was doing all this stuff in the Google Collabs anyways, so I was like, oh, why don't I just implement this in
Chris
there?
Traley's implementation. Yeah,
your friend that made the mod to let it be.
And then Alex Russo's mod. It's amazing, like it really takes a village, you know, and it's not like there's a whole scene of people trying to figure out how this works. There's like 10 people out there that really know what they're doing with concatenative synthesis.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a low number. Maybe 20, you know, maybe 30.
I think
maybe
like,
half of them are like living under a rock and they don't talk to each other, you know.
I think there's a lot of academic people who know how to do it, like who are familiar with it.
Yeah,
but I think
that's the thing. It's like,
I think especially in our scenes, like once you start getting into the producer side, like especially like the more kind of club music kind of oriented, at least like, and I'm counting even my most experimental stuff in the non-academic world, you know, and I think like in that part there's really very few of people who are kind of doing it. And
well, it's because you basically need a degree in data science and Python just to get up and running.
Yeah,
it's a real and once you get up and running, that's still no guarantee that you're going to make great music with it. You know what I'm saying? And I use this metaphor a lot with my students. It's the fact that like we're trying to become virtuosos at the same instruments that we're inventing, and you never actually hear about the people who invent instruments to be the ultimate players of those instruments. Like who invented the guitar? Yeah. Like who invented the violin? Who invented the piano? We just don't hear about those people. like the inventor, the person who figured out the physics and figured out the mechanisms that make an instrument, are rarely great players of that instrument. So this is the burden that electronic musicians have to carry, is that we're trying to invent new instruments, whether that's with Eurorack or Max MSP or just a really, really interesting Ableton rack that we're creating. And while we're creating that instrument, we have to learn how to be really good at playing that instrument. And those two things are not one does not imply the existence of the other. You could be really, really, really good at playing instruments, at writing music, at doing sound design, but maybe you only use presets. Or you could be really, really, really good at creating these instruments, but it's not going to mean that you're going to be the most effective user. So this is the thing that I feel like guys like you and I are trying to chase after. We are trying to invent ways of doing things while at the same time figuring out how to excel at the artistic and creative end, because those don't always link up, especially in this world of data science. It's like, and by the way, I don't know if I told you, I got accepted into my PhD program.
Fuck yeah. Dr. Bass.
I did not get my scholarship I asked for. I'm going to try for that again next year. But it looks like I have an opportunity to become a doctor here in the next couple of years.
Hell yeah.
And, there's something that about PhD and academic and research-led music out there that I've found really to be true, is like most of the time, music made under the pretense of a PhD kind of sucks. Like, why is it that the higher up you get in academia, the worse the music gets? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I encountered this while doing my research for this master's project, was that like there's countless examples of like papers that are written that's like, we have discovered a new way of doing things that merges data science and sound design in a way that no one's ever thought of before. And we're using it to make the worst music you've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm like looking at it like, is this the direction is this, it seems like we only have so much brain, so if you're really devoting your brain to like inventing these new instruments, you kind of lose maybe.
We'll lose a bit of practice too with making the music, right?
And that's the big puzzle. Like, how do I become really, really innovative to where I'm actually writing and think new thoughts, which is actually much more of a challenge than it sounds just to say. And how am I also staying in a realm where my music is not garbage? Where it's not just like I'm making new tools for the sake of doing new tools and writing papers about it, and I don't care if it sounds like garbage because it's using some new tool. It's a very fine line we're riding here. It seems like anyone that goes to that horizon, the absolute vanguard, ends up not coming back with great music, but might have amazing discoveries. And I'm trying to do both here. Okay, I am running out of time today, but I figured out the Python thing. Okay. And so I'll just show you all really quick.
Sweet.
Here we go. Okay. All right. So like I said, you do Python 3, you do AG concatenate, which is a file you don't touch that gets downloaded with audio guide. And then you do the preset that I made. And I hit go, and it looks like this. Concatenating. Render, done. So isn't that refreshing? Rendered 101 events. So it actually replaced 101 separate parts of the sound with 101 separate other sounds. Did you see how fast that was? That's the thing I like about Audio Guide, because this is not using machine learning. It's not using NMF. This is simple data descriptors. It's just like looking at something and trying to find something that matches it. It's not necessarily machine learning. So that's just to show that concatenative synthesis itself is a concept that transcends the algorithm. It's like you have a whole bunch of different kinds of algorithms that are able to do this. So let's check out the sound it made. I haven't listened to it. We just did Funky Drummer, recreated with a bunch of random sounds. Let's check it out. Subtle.
It's a minimalist approach.
It's minimalist, but if you put that on the timeline and put it against the funky drummer, I bet it would line
perfect.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would really richen it up. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So that was kind of anticlimactic, but you saw how fast that went by. Now I might go back in here and say, like, all right, let's adjust some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I want more sounds. I want, and you kind of dial it in to get the thing that you're going for.
I think that's
going back and forth. It's a lot easier here than with the NMF stuff.
I think that's part of the, I guess that's what we've been saying all along, but that's kind of the difficulty with this technique also. It's like hard to also demo it in a way where people get excited about it, because there's so much, like, you have to have your, it's like sort of, you have to have your demo really set up, which is totally not the way that I work for anything, like on but you have to have, you got to really find some really nice settings, maybe have a handful of them, and then when you're going to demo it, you're like showing stuff that, yeah. And so discovery of new, it's a hard thing to get into. It's a hard thing to like kind of find cool results from, but the results when they work are just fucking mind-blowing. And yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of got to call it a day here too.
Oh wait, one more thing to show you. I had this guy running in the background. Let's just check this out. It took 10 minutes to render almost, so let's do it. Here we go. Oh! Oh, I like that.
That's amazing.
That's a good one. That's
really
a Halfred funky drummer.
Well, there you go. Actually, that is like a really great example of a really, like, you can easily imagine the uses for that, in my opinion. It's just like and that's what makes this technique so fucking brilliant. Okay, so
I'm gonna throw this sample into the into your live stream too, so people can listen to this. Yeah. Okay, so sorry, what were you saying? We're wrapping it up, huh?
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts you wanna leave people with, or?
Yeah, I'll take this opportunity to plug my class. Like you mentioned at the beginning, I am teaching an online class. It's been going really well. We started in January, and basically I took what I do at Berkeley, which is, give suggested assignments, and I have like an arc. Like I say, this has a beginning and an end. It's 1 month. We're going to do 4 classes, and we have a goal. So I did that in January. It was awesome. I did another one in March, and I'm doing one right now in April. And since no one likes to do like school in the summertime, I decided to do like workshops in the summer. So
cool.
One of these workshops is going to be around concatenative synthesis, where I'm going to have better demos, and I'm going to have a download where people are able to download this shit and get it working instantly.
That's
and
a
just
huge
make
value.
a packet.
That's
so
amazing.
People can totally get, and also have some corpuses ready. Say, this is your orgasm corpus. This is your shit breaking corpus. This is, and just make a really complete, the first ever workshop where you will walk away with concatenative sound designs by the end of the workshop.
That's amazing.
Also, there's some other good workshops, like how to do audiovisual with Resolume. That's something I've been doing with Zappler for a long time. There are cool ways to hook up Ableton Live and Resolume to get things to be audio reactive. Really fun. Go show you how to do that. Also, more performance stuff. So if anyone in here is interested in taking my summer workshops, those are, I will go ahead and post the link here into the
chat,
into the thing for the form. Fill out a very small application, and then I send it to you. Also, the other thing I want to throw out there is that in September I am going to be doing this an in-person teaching event out here in Scotland, and I'm only taking 10 people to come out and hang out for 10 days. And we do workshops every day and private lessons, and it's a fully catered event. And
That's amazing.
there will be like hiking through the mountains of Skye and visiting with the sheep and hanging out in the hot tub and just doing stuff like that. So
That's
total luxurious retreat. That's going to be called Beat Retreat, and it's going to be in the last week of September. And I will go ahead and link you all to that as well in the thing.
That's amazing. That's like a full out hardcore artist residency for the creme de la creme. That's gonna be amazing.
Exactly, and I have not actually announced it to the public yet. I've just there's the link for Beat Retreat there. I've only been telling my class and kind of small communities about it, but I'm gonna announce it next week. So if anyone wants to get a jump on it, there's only 10 slots. It's a little expensive, but it's going to be like a fully catered transportation,
well worth it,
luxurious as possible.
Cool.
Okay, Greg, it is awesome to see you. Thank you so much for having me on. I always love talking to you, man.
It's a real treat.
It's such a treat to talk to you. And man, this summer I'm traveling a lot. I'd love to come hang out with you.
Yeah, please. Yeah. That'll be really fun.
Gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that was fucking great, and thank you so much for coming on and showing us all the stuff and telling us about your crazy research and stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy to share this kind of stuff with the community. All right, man.
Thanks so much, Greg. You have a good one, and thank you, Woulg Weekly community, everybody out there. Much love. Take care.
Bye bye. Okay, so. That's it for today. I'll play a little outro song, but I have to go pretty quick here. So it's going to be a short outro song, which is going to be this one. Where is it? Thank you everybody for coming, and the video will be uploaded to the Woulg Stream YouTube channel. So check it out there, and see you next week for a track review.